Let's talk Scream 7 spoilers and why the Ghostface reveal is not as bad as people think it is. Right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to be covering all the spoilers for Scream 7 that released a couple of days ago. So if you've not seen the movie yet, please go and check it out, and please be sure to form your own opinions of this movie before following any of the reviewers' opinions and stuff like that. What's going on online? Go and check out the movie for yourself. We will be covering spoilers, so if you don't want to see any spoilers or if you've not seen the movie yet, do not watch this video and come back later. The first thing that I want to get out of the way is the Ghostface reveals. That was the most underwhelming and most disappointing part of this movie. In saying that, I do feel like Anna Camp as Ghostface is not as bad as people think it is. There are a lot of clues throughout this movie that she is possibly the Ghostface. Um, Throughout a lot of our prediction videos, we have thought that she might be one of the Ghostfaces, along with Ethan Embry's character, who was a Ghostface as well, and he was playing the character of Marco. I was let down and was disappointed by the reveal, as I had speculated that Anna Camp might be Leslie Marker's two sister, and then I had really hoped if it was Ethan Embry's character, that they would explain it in a way that would make sense to the story and just tie back into Sydney and all of that. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. But there are a lot of clues throughout this movie, especially if you go and watch it again, pointing to Anna Camp being the Ghostface in this movie. And we're gonna break it down a little bit. So the first obvious part in this movie that Anna Camp was the Ghostface for this movie was at the start in the coffee shop when her son's there and he's being a little bit annoying and she kind of wants to get rid of him, and she mentions something like, "Don't you have rehearsals to get to?" or something like that. But she never like greets him goodbye or anything like that. She's just very cold and doesn't wish him any luck. Doesn't no love you in there. And yeah, this is her son. Obviously, not everybody's gonna have the love you in there, but at least support the guy and wish him good luck. And yeah, that was kind of the first big clue that she might be Ghostface in this movie. And then the second one comes when Gail is interacting with Lucas and Anna Camp's character in this movie or this scene, where Gail is trying to pin the suspicion onto Lucas, Jessica's son, Anna Camp's character's son. And yeah, this is where I kind of thought we would get that obligatory shot where Gail Weathers would get punched in the face, because yeah, she's blaming her son Lucas, and Anna Camp kind of defends him, but at the same time, she is Ghostface in this movie, so she doesn't really want any of the suspicion on her. So she doesn't really do much to take the suspicion off her son because that is what she wants to happen. Um, and the reason why I feel like this makes more sense than a Scream 5 and 6, especially, because in the writing you can see Kevin Williamson is back, and the two movies that he was a part of, which featured female ghost faces, being Scream 2, Mrs. Loomis, and Scream 4, Jill, you can see that the female ghost faces in those movies were like the masterminds and manipulators behind the ghost face, the motive and stuff like that. They weren't the ones actually doing all of the killings. I think Mrs. Loomis got one kill in Scream 2 and she took out Randy, and Jill got one kill, I believe, and that was her ex-boyfriend, and he was already tied up, which made a lot of sense. And I feel like the same is happening here in Scream 7. Uh Anna Camp's character Jessica, she did not kill anyone in the Ghostface costume. She was the mastermind behind this plan. She had her motive, which was not that great. but she did manipulate Marco into doing all of these killings. Ethan Embry's character. So yeah, I thought it made a lot more sense than Scream 5 and 6, because in Scream 5 there is some of the things that Ghostface does throughout the movie, which after the reveal happens, it really doesn't make sense as to how it could have been Amber. I know the stunt people and people in the suits when they're playing Ghostface is not always who is Ghostface in that moment. But yeah, I just can't believe Amber being the one taking out Dewey in that situation. And then even more so in Scream 6, we have Gwen who faked her death, and then when she's revealed, you can put one and one together, and she is the Ghostface who was in Gail's apartment taking care of Gail and Gail's boyfriend. She manhandles that dude so badly, and yeah, it doesn't really make sense that it could be Quinn in that situation. So I like that Kevin Williamson has grounded it a little bit more and resort to, not saying the females can do it, because Mrs. Loomis did it and she did 100% catch um, him off guard when she pulled him into the van and took care of him. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Whereas in this one, you can kind of see it coming throughout all the little clues in this movie. And then she did none of the killings at all. She's just there to get the suspicion off of her. And Ethan Embry does the same. Marco does the same. He's talking about maybe Stu being in the room next to the escaped mental patient who attacked Sydney and Tatum and Mark in their house. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense to me in that way that Anna Kemp would be the killer. Just expected her to be a different character and have a better motive than what she did have. But I think, yeah, that is not just me trying to reason with the disappointment of the review, but it does make a lot of sense if you look at it that way. That Anakin would be the Ghostface in this movie. Ethan Embry, there's no excuse for him. He was manipulated. Maybe the same could be said for Charlie in Scream 4. They're just both manipulated by the female counterparts. But yeah, I was expecting a little bit more from him, like what his explanation was, why he did what he did, and yeah, so that it really left something to be desired, and I was really hoping that we would get Stu fully back alive in this movie, which unfortunately didn't happen. But yeah, I think if people look at it this way, they will come to realize that Anna Camp was kind of obvious to be the ghost face since the beginning of this movie. I'm very glad I avoided the spoilers and leaks for this and was just able to take it in. We obviously did predict Anakim to be the character. We just thought maybe it would be Leslie Marker, Stu's sister, which obviously didn't end up being. And I think it's also valid to say that most people were maybe just let down by their own expectations for this movie, like myself, because I was expecting Stu to be alive and well for the most part, and there was an AI element to it. But at the end of the day, I really thought that Stu might make an appearance, but that's not the case, unfortunately. And yeah, I think a lot of other people also had the same expectations of what they wanted to see in this movie and who they wanted to be revealed as Ghostface, which didn't happen. And I'm not gonna argue with you if you say that the motive was weak and the reveal was very disappointing, because in a sense it was, and I'm not trying to justify it with this little, no, it's not even a theory, just my 2 cents on how I interpret it, especially after watching it for a second time. And yeah, that's like I enjoyed Anna Camp's character throughout this movie, and I enjoyed the final act. Maybe we could have gotten a little bit more of her. But yeah, at the end of the day, I am not as disappointed anymore. than a few other people out there are. And yeah, I actually want to go see it again. I can't wait to watch it again, and I'm definitely picking up 4K. All right, so I guess yeah, that's the biggest problem I have with this movie. Was the reveal, and yeah, it was underwhelming, disappointing. But there's so many great elements in this movie that the reveal doesn't really ruin it for me that much. And with all the Scream movies, there are some questionable moments that you might not enjoy here or there, and there is still no terrible Scream movie out there, which is a big win for us. And yeah, I really hope the fandom can come together one day and we get the core four back someday. So yeah, let's get into some of the great parts, which was the opening. We're starting at the Mocker House. Jimmy Thatcher in this scene is just like I think all of us Scream fans, if we had the opportunity to go visit the house. And yeah, I think they did a lot of effort with the calls coming in and playing the movie trivia game with the guests who stay there and all of the decorations going on. That's really well done. And if I am not mistaken, the voice who calls them to play the little trivia game, it sounded a lot like the person who did the voice for the scary movies. I might be way off on that, but that's kind of what the voice sounded like. Very, very suspenseful. Love the way they utilize Ghostface in the scene and throughout the entirety of this movie. Especially like the motion detector Ghostface, and then Jimmy Thatcher's character sees him actually breathing, and yeah, then things start to go haywire from there. Very awesome to see that Ghostface does have that meanness to him, like he did in the previous two movies. I don't think it is as violent as 5 and 6, but it's not pulling its punches. Maybe on par with Scream 4. And yeah, so you got a great kill on Jimmy Thatcher's character and a great reveal from Ghostface not being animatronic anymore. And then he lets Madison's character, the character of Madison, on fire, which was yeah, just a good touch because in the movie she says she doesn't want to go out that way, and then Ghostface gives her exactly what she didn't want to happen, which was yeah, kind of cool to see. Immediately go into Tatum. Loved Isabella May's character in this, and I hope we get more of her in this franchise. Very good actress, and yeah, cannot wait to see what else she can do or bring to this role. Her boyfriend Ben, Sam Reckner's character, he comes and visits her, and there's like a recreation of the original scene between Sydney and Billy, and they have similar lines to that. Obviously, he said Exorcist, and Ben is talking about the Stab franchise because Sydney is in there, and you even have the same musical cues and musical notes going, or the same music going in that scene, which was a cool little callback. And then obviously Sydney is smarter than what her father was in the original film, and she knows Ben's there, and she calls him out and stuff like that. Next scene got a good sense of the relationship between Tatum and Sydney in this movie, as Sydney doesn't open much about her past or anything like that. And then you also get the introduction of Mark Evans, Joe McHale's character, and yeah, he's making jokes. It's all good. I did think his character was gonna be a little bit on the more pathetic side, but we'll get into that in a second. My overall thoughts on him. The next scene we get straight into it. They waste no time with the AI Stu, so we get to see Stu, and Matthew Lillard just crushes it in that role, even if it's AI. I just loved seeing him back, and yeah, I will discuss something at the end of this, maybe just to maybe Stu could still be alive. We'll get to that at the end of this. But yeah, he's at the Tatum school. Tatum's going through a lot. She's got not doing so well with her stage performing stuff and theater stuff that she's working on, and she doesn't have a big part in the play or whatever they're doing. So yeah, very good character development for her as well, because she's not that confident as maybe Sydney was in the first movie, and it really shows. But yeah, so Ghostface there, he is going to take down Tatum, but McKenna Grace's character, unfortunately, is the one who meets her demise in a pretty epic way. Love the whole her getting stuck in the wiring, and she's trying to fight off Ghostface, and his entrance through the stage door is pretty epic, and he's slicing her with each passing swing on the wires, and then he takes her out in gruesome fashion, which was very very cool to see. Um, yeah, they go from the house or to Sydney's house. Mark, Tatum, and Sydney's gonna pack their stuff and they're gonna get out of there. There's a ghost face in their attic. He jumps down. There's a an awesome kind of chase scene that ensues, but before that even happens, there's like a little moment that changed John McHale's Mark Evans completely for me, and that was when the Sydney tells him that she didn't put down out the lights, and yeah, he's ready. He pulls out his gun. He gets Sydney to be behind him, and yeah, his fight scene with Ghostface. He was not a pathetic, wimpy love interest. He takes charge. He fights off Ghostface. Yeah, he does get his ass kicked here and there as well, but he always comes back, and yeah, he's got some moves. The behind the walls, Sydney and Tatum trying to escape within the walls. That was a very intense scene, very well done scene. There's one point Ghostface puts his knife through the wall, and Sydney uses the baseball bat to hit the blade, and it kind of hooks into the wall structure, so he can't pull out the knife anymore. And then believe he picks up a fire poker, and that's his next weapon of choice for that. Eventually, they do make it outside of the house, and Mark, Joe McHale's character, still does not lose his fight within him to protect his family, and he's kicking Ghostface's ass. Eventually, Ghostface ends up in the street. He rolls onto the street, and bam, gets hit by a car. Out comes Gale, and I shit you not, my theater erupted with applause and a lot of commotion, which was awesome to see. Unfortunately, it was revealed to just be the a person that was at the mental hospital, and he was at the Sydney's coffee shop earlier in the day. Little bit underwhelming. You do see, I believe it's Timothy Simons' character. That's what his name is. He had a lot of suspicion throughout this movie, or especially the first two acts. I thought maybe it was gonna be him as the killer. Very tall dude as well. So yeah, a lot of suspicion, but he kind of just disappears, and you never see much of him again. Yeah, so that was very disappointing to see. It was just a random nobody attacking them in the house, so the reveal was very underwhelming, especially for what the Ghostface in that scene was able to do and move around like. But yeah, the way they used Ghostface throughout this movie, where he's hidden in the shadows from one frame to the next and he has disappeared, really well done. We do slow down a bit as Sydney and Gail goes to visit the psychiatric hospital, and they play on our feelings around whether Stu is alive, and there's maybe a person there who stayed at the mental hospital that might be Stu. You also get the interview between Gail and Sydney, which yeah, it does bring down the movie a little bit. But then the next scene, you have the bar scene. All of the younger people are together with Chad and Mindy, and Chad and Mindy is gonna try and figure out who's the ghost face amongst the group, because it's always someone you know, and their experience, it was always somebody in their friend group. So they thought, because of those two previous movies, they would be able to figure out with Tatum's friend group. And then, spoiler, it was none of them in their friend group, and it just shows that the experiences that others had as a ghost face within their friend group does not carry over to this movie, which is another fresh thing that they did. And a new thing, the only other movie that might have done it was in Scream 3, where Roman wasn't really related to any of the group of friends when Sydney was growing up or something like that. He was just the director of this movie and her being her long lost brother. But yeah, that whole scene in the bar takes place. It's kind of silly how Chad and Mindy is just quickly displaced of. Chad gets like stabbed in his shoulder, and Mindy gets sliced, and they're just kind of off screen. Nothing too seriously happens to them. The Ghostface does attack Lucas. He's pretty badly wounded. Celeste O'Connor's character has a cool cat and mouse game with Ghostface where she's walking around the counter or behind the counter of the bar, and Ghostface is walking on the other side and is kind of trying to see where she is. And then he classic Ghostface tricks her. He acts if he's going out the door closes, and then she gets up and she's wanting to go check on Lucas. Ghostface pops up, good jump scare there, takes Celeste O'Connor's character, throws her over the counter through some glass. One of the shards sticks into her neck. Very, very gruesome stuff. She's taken care of. Ghostface jumps onto the counter just to check from above. He sees that she is bleeding out. She's about to die. He jumps off of the counter, which is a very cool shot. Lucas is trying to crawl away in the background. Ghostface walks over to him, drags him by one leg, and one of the coolest kills in the franchise is honestly might be my favorite. I will, yeah, maybe look to rank the kills throughout, but yeah, this was very very cool to see, and it's a little bit Terrifier-ish, but not to that extent fully. So he picks up Lucas and he kind of pushes his head. Asa German's character, he pushes his head like through the tap of the beer tap. Yeah, and it goes in, and then he kind of leans forward, and the beer starts running, and the beer goes out of his mouth, and yeah, very creative. And the one thing that did love about this, I don't know how much practical and how much CGI was used, but it looked like a lot of the things within this kill sequence was done practically, which I just applaud them for. So yeah, I love to see more practical stuff, practical kills in these slasher movies. Next scene, you do have been kind of being underutilized in this movie. Obviously, Tatum thinks it's him doing the Ghostface killings because he's done some AI stuff on his laptop. Tatum fights him off. He gets knocked out, and the chase scene between Tatum and Ghostface ensues. It's a very intense, cool chase sequence. It runs for a long while, actually. And yeah, she fights him off. He gets thrown through windows. She whacks him a couple of times with objects. And Ben finally shows up. And very unfortunate because I did like Sam Reckner's character. He gets killed off. Tatum makes it into her mom's coffee shop where Ghostface is trying to get in, and I love the way the technology is utilized, where Sydney can actually look at the cameras and see what Ghostface is doing and where he's trying to get in, and she can guide Tatum at the same time. Eventually, Tatum gets a gun. She shoots Ghostface. Obviously, you gotta finish off Ghostface by shooting him in the head. She goes out, doesn't work out. There's a little bit more of a chase scene going on. She takes care of Ghostface by hitting him with a chair, and then you got that little musical note or sound coming on in the background as she turns around, and there's a different Ghostface that comes out of the shadows. And yeah, just how Ghostface approaches her from there, it's all very well done. There on out, you do get to the house of Sydney, and this is where all the like little cameos of Scott Foley, and we even have Laurie Metcalf in there who played Mrs. Loomis, and then you have Dewey, his cameo as the AI Dewey, and yeah, they're all just talking about yeah how Sydney let them down, and Stu's there taunting Sydney, and you also have Roman just talking about them being family. Very underwhelming as well. I would have definitely used those characters maybe in a different way. Maybe even do some phone calls or some video calls with them as the ghost faces in there, just to throw everything off a little bit. But overall, yeah, it happened. We'll just move on from that. You got the reveal of the ghost faces, which was disappointing and underwhelming as well. And yeah, everything up until that point with the reveals was very entertaining, and I enjoyed the movie a lot. And then even after Marco, Ethan Embry's character, was shot in the head, and Tatum gets loose, Anna Cam's character is fleeing into the renovation of this is Sydney's house. It started getting more entertaining again. I really enjoyed that little fight sequence between Anna Camp and Sydney's character. A little bit of a callback to Halloween H2O, where Anna Camp's character as Ghostface like kind of jumps off of the front. You can see her like in the background jumping off something, and she just kind of lands there. Yeah, very very ridiculous maybe, but so entertaining. And then yeah, cool little fight sequence between Sydney and Anna Camp's character. They think it's finished, but she has obviously disappeared, and she's going for a final attack on Sydney and Tatum, where both Sydney and Tatum just unload their weapons on Anna Kemp's face, which was also pretty cool to see. And then you get a little bit of a sweet moment between Sydney and Tatum just before the closing of this movie. Very, very Halloween 2018 esque, as Tatum is not as confident as Sydney was in the original movie. And yeah, she has a couple of lines like she is not able to do it and she can't shoot him. And yeah, a lot of similar callbacks to Karen talking to Laurie and saying that she can't do it just to trick Michael to step out into frame where she can take the shot on him. One little glimmer of hope Scream 7 does leave us with is maybe a possibility of Stu being alive, as it was never confirmed if he was dead. They tried to like analyze the footage from at the state police department to see if Stu was in fact created by AI. We do know that it was Marco doing the AI stuff, but it was never confirmed by anybody else who had to confirm that it was not AI. Also, the the files disappearing about Stu Marker's supposed burial and the coroner's report and stuff like that. Maybe Marco went over there to steal it. I don't know, but yeah, there's always that little bit of hope that Stu might have survived in the end, and we might get to see him in Scream 8. That is my one big wish for Scream 8 is we do get to see him. But if we do not, I'm very glad that we did get to see him. I feel that they're back as Stu, even if it was just AI. So, yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the movie. I'm looking forward to do a spoiler Scream to talk all of the spoilers with you. If you've made it so far into the video, I hope you enjoyed my little bit about Anna Camp as Ghostface. And if you enjoyed the movie, if you didn't enjoy the movie, definitely drop your comments down below. And if you've not seen this movie yet, I highly recommend going checking it out in the movie theaters. Don't listen to what all the critics and reviews say about it. And we will catch you in the next one, guys. Peace out.
I'll be right back.